In a world where everyone is raving about electric cars and saying that they're the next big thing and that the gas engine is going to be outdated in 10 years, there's a lot of reasons to believe that. With Tesla becoming such a large company and electric cars being all over the road now and many companies transitioning towards EVs, it's very easy to believe that our beloved internal combustion engine might not be here to stay for very long. However, there's a multitude of reasons why that's not the case, why the ICE is here to stay. And today I'm going to be discussing all of those reasons in detail and explaining why I think that they are valid and why the internal combustion engine is not going anywhere. Reason number one is the oil industry. The oil industry is absolutely massive, being evaluated at roughly $2.1 trillion in 2022. Additionally, it supports over 9.8 million jobs in the US alone, and far more than that worldwide. Now, the entire oil industry is filled with absolute massive gas giants between Total Energies, Exxon, Shell, you name it. These are all multi-billion-dollar companies that no matter what are going to be near impossible to take down. Additionally, many of the companies that produce cars right now are going to continue to work with these oil companies to produce internal combustion engines, as for them, it's cheaper to make than an electric motor. That might not always be the case, but that is the case right now. And if you're a company trying to sell a car for a profit, you're going to want to make it as cheap as possible to build, and using the oil industry to your advantage with the internal combustion engine is going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to doing that. Another aspect of this is the gas station industry. Think about how many gas stations are within 10 square miles of your house, probably 5 or 6, if not more than that, depending on where you live. There's no way that you are going to get rid of every single gas station in the entire country, let alone the entire world. It's just not going to happen. It's too big of an industry. There's too much money in it. There's too many jobs in it. Taking it down would cause a complete catastrophic effect throughout the entire economy, both in the US and in the rest of the world. My second reason is what I call last man standing, and this is basically off the premise that car enthusiasts even exist. Car enthusiasts like myself obviously want something that makes some good noise, is rear-wheel drive, stick shift, big power, all those things that anyone would really want in a sports car. Now, as companies phase this out and start to go electric, what's going to happen is the companies that are left still producing these things, the companies that are still, making internal combustion engines when everyone else is electric, are going to be the ones who are getting all of the sales in that area, because that's what people are going to want. As the amount of cars that exist that are still using the internal combustion engine dwindles down to near nothing, everyone is going to have such a high demand for that companies are naturally probably going to start making them again to try and get a piece of that market and get a taste of that profit. A great example of this right now is Toyota with the manual transmission. As everyone is phasing out the manual transmission and going automatic, you have Corvette going automatic, you have the Mustang going automatic. When all of that's happening, Toyota's sitting here with the new GT86 and the new Supra, and they're still pumping out manuals because they understand that that's what people want. And when people want something, there's going to be a market for it and a lot of profit to be made. So as everyone goes electric, or at least if they try to, whoever stays in the game the longest, whoever's the last man standing, is going to reap some insane profits that is probably going to get other companies to want to get back in on that, and it's going to keep that fight going, and it's going to prolong the existence of the internal combustion engine. So my third and one of my bigger reasons is the used car market. Myself, probably you, and millions of other people still own a car with an internal combustion engine. Now, unless they all find themselves in the slammer at the junkyard tomorrow, they're going to be around for a while. There are billions of internal combustion engine cars that have been produced and are sitting around just waiting to be bought or currently being used. As companies come out with new electric vehicles, these cars are not going to simply go away. As they depreciate, they're going to be cheaper to buy, people are going to continue to buy them, they're going to continue to use them, and they're going to continue to resell them. Until every single internal combustion engine car on the road finds itself in a junkyard slammer, it's still going to be around. So to say that it's going to be phased out anytime soon is pretty unlikely, because with all of the cars that are still currently in existence, everyone is going to be driving them for a very long time, which ties back into the whole oil industry argument. As long as people are still driving these used cars, the oil companies are still going to be turning a profit off the gasoline that they sell to the people who still drive these cars. And once again, while this might not entirely hold off the, potentially inevitable transition to an electric engine, it will at least prolong it for a very, very long time. I know you could still buy plenty of vehicles from the 70s and the 80s that have an internal combustion engine, and you can drive them around today on public roads with no problem. I see no reason why that won't be the case 40 years down the road with vehicles that are coming out today. And this brings me to my final point, which is racing. Obviously, racing is a massive form of entertainment and sport for a lot of people. It's a massive industry with millions of followers and millions of dollars in it. Now, all of that money can go entirely out the window in the event that racing goes electric. Think about F1, for example. Would you watch F1 if it was electric? I know I've watched Formula E a few times, and it is one of the most boring things I have ever seen. For the entertainment purpose alone, all of racing between WEC, IMSA, F1 will never go electric simply because nobody would watch it. The viewership would be next to nothing. Furthermore, when it comes to endurance racing, such as WEC, there needs to be refueling during pit stops. You can't do that with an electric engine. They can't sit there for 2 hours, plug the car in, and let it charge while there's an endurance race going on. They have to be able to refuel within a matter of seconds to be competitive. And that refueling strategy ties largely into what can make racing so interesting when it comes down to the wire. If you do less fuel, the car will be lighter and you'll be quicker, but you also risk running out and you have to make more pit stops. It all plays into the strategy of what makes racing racing. That's what makes it interesting. That's what gets viewership. And what also gets viewership is the screaming F1 cars with the V12s, the V10s, and the turbo 6-cylinders flying down the track at 200 miles an hour. If all that's happening silently, no one's going to want to watch it, and the entire industry of racing is just going to go completely downhill. Obviously, for that reason, they're not going to do that. All of FIA is going to maintain the internal combustion engine for viewership purposes alone, and because of that, all of those cars are still going to be internal combustion engine. It's going to stay that way for a very long time, and naturally, that's probably going to influence a lot of manufacturers that build cars to race in those leagues to continue doing that for their street cars. And it all just kind of ties back into each other and makes it so that it is really hard to get rid of the internal combustion engine. It's just so deeply ingrained in so many areas of motorsport, of the automotive world, of pretty much everything, that it's going to take a long time to take it down. I'm not saying that it will not ever happen, but I'm saying it's not going to happen anytime soon, and it's certainly not going to happen quickly. So wrapping up, these are just a few of the reasons why I think the internal combustion engine is here to stay for quite a while. Once again, I'm not saying it's not going to ever get phased out, but it's going to be a very long time. There's plenty of other reasons that I can think of off the top of my head, such as being able to work on your own car, the existence of repair shops, and many more. You could probably even think of more reasons. In general, though, this is all just my personal theories. This is what I personally think about these issues and how it's going to all play out in the future. If you think differently, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear some other perspectives on this, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.